to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm Spencer Haas, your host from nichepursuits.com, and I have Perrin with me as well as my co-host. Perrin, how you doing?
Pretty good, as always. How's it going, everybody?
Awesome. Yep. We are back for a second week in a row. We took a nice little break, but we're back for week 2. We had lots of people surprisingly listened into our last episode that we, after taking 2-3 months off, they're still listening in. Pretty cool, huh, Perrin?
I think at some point we have to stop being surprised. Like, we're always just, maybe we have low self-esteem, or we're always baffled that people want to listen to us talk. But
yeah, I think that's part of it. It's like, why? I'm a guy just sitting here in my house. You're sitting in your apartment. We're just chatting business, but people want to listen. So
hey.
No, we're super excited to have people listening, and we always love it. And today is going to be, I think, an interesting discussion, and particularly for people that are interested in selling a physical product on Amazon, because behind the scenes, I have basically been building up an Amazon business on my own. I've gone out, I found a product that I could get manufactured in China. I've listed it up on Amazon, and it's been selling for the past 30 days. And so today I want to share the results, and we're going to dig into how I did it, and then specifically some questions that we've received from readers, because I just did a blog post on this yesterday. And so we've already received quite a few questions, and so we want to dig in to that. So before we jump in, anything you want to preface with this, Perrin, or anything else, or should we just dive in?
I think maybe we should pay attention to, or spend some time on, the little chat we were having before we started the podcast, because this podcast isn't going to be about niche sites. We're not going to be talking about niche site building or keyword research here. So why are we even talking about this in the first place?
That's right. Yes. So actually, I had an interesting experience. I started this podcast over 2 years ago. It was in early 2012. And so over 3 years ago, actually now. Wow. And I decided, I'm going to listen to my first podcast. And so I did. And I don't advise it for anybody out there. The audio quality is terrible. I don't really know what I'm doing, and I still don't know what I'm doing. But one of the things that I made clear on my podcast is that the whole point of Niche Pursuits, the blog and the podcast, was to discuss niche business ideas outside of niche websites. Believe it or not, that was the whole point. The whole reason I created the blog and the podcast was to diversify my business away from Google and talk about business ideas outside of niche websites. Many people may or may not know that I had a blog before Niche Pursuits, and the total focus of that blog was niche websites. I built up a very large business with niche websites, and I could see the risks associated with Google, being 100% reliant on Google. And so I made the conscious decision, I'm going to cut ties with that old blog. I'm starting a new blog, and I'm going to talk about my ventures into other businesses. And so if you read all my early blog posts, I am definitely talking about doing other things, selling books on eBay, building iPhone apps, and doing all these other things. Along the way, I started talking more and more about niche websites because people wanted to hear more and more about that. But I feel like today is really what I've been trying to do all along, and venturing into other niche business ideas. So
yeah, and if you're just getting ready to hit the exit button, we are going to be talking about niche sites in some way, but I think it definitely pays to know that that's how it started, and that's the kind of guy you are. You are involved in 5 or 6 different businesses, especially in the Tri-Cities. So
yep,
that's kind of how it works with Spencer.
That's how it is. I enjoy having my hands in lots of pots, keeps things interesting and exciting. And more than that, I'm always, I try to move on to things that are more successful, right? So, yeah. I mean, if niche sites are becoming more and more difficult, which, I think that they are, then I want to move into something that's more profitable. And right now the early signs are pretty good with this Amazon FBA business. So let's go ahead and jump into that. So first, let me share the results just to kind of whet people's appetites. Why should they be listening in? So I listed my product for the very first time for sale on March 28th. That's just about 30 days ago. And as of April 28th, the first 30 days of selling that product, I had sold $4,399 and let me get the cents, 17 cents worth of product. And so huge success. I mean, for me personally, having no experience in this business, getting a product up and selling it, I would have been happy to have sold $1,000 worth. Like, I had no idea how this business, I decided to just go for it and learn. And so that's what I've done in the first 30 days. And I see massive potential to scale this quite a bit larger. I mean, this is just the start. I mean, all signs are pointing to the fact that I could easily, quadruple that amount per month with this business. So
what are those signs? And I kind of know what they are because I get to peek behind the curtain. But what are the things specifically that make you think that you want to invest more and spend your energy, which is pretty valuable in terms of, dollars per hour in this particular business?
Yeah. Well, in particular, just looking at the sales trend, right? So the first couple of weeks of listing my product, it was lucky if it sold one or maybe two products a day. But slowly we've done some things to improve the sales of the product. And over the last 10 days, the trend is now, I sold as many as 11 products in one day. And to give people an idea, the price was roughly $50. So in one day, I sold $600 worth of product. And the low point over the week has been 5, sales in a day. So just the fact of where the sales are now, I mean, over the next 30 days, if you multiply that out, $300 a day. I mean, that's $9,000 a month just right there, just where it's at already. And so I haven't even done hardly any marketing whatsoever. And so I believe if we do just a little bit of marketing, there's no reason that the trend shouldn't continue upward, at least for a few months. And there's just a huge market. There's lots of other products selling very well in my exact niche, and I'm nowhere near the top of that pile. There's 100 other products selling way better than mine is, and so I'm at the bottom of the pile and could still be making, $15,000 to $20,000 a month in revenue. So those are some of the signs that I'm seeing.
Yeah. And I think on my end, there were a couple signs that really got me excited because if I'm being totally honest, when I thought about, the business model of contacting manufacturers, getting something made, shipping it overseas, my head was spinning and I was just like, man, that sounds like a headache. And what if it doesn't sell? There's a little bit more of an investment, involved. So I honestly was very unattracted to this business model, but obviously it's doing really well right now. But there are a couple things that have kind of really piqued my interest. The first one was that you were selling products with no reviews, and that is something that I never would have thought was possible at all. I mean, it was just baffling to me when you showed me the numbers for the first time and you had sold, I think, almost $1,000, and there's no reviews on the product. It was just crazy.
I just didn't have time to do a lot of marketing. This was something I was doing on the side, and so there was absolutely no reviews whatsoever on the product, and it was still selling. And when a few reviews did finally come in, that just helped things sell even better.
So the second thing was, when we realized that the product was selling, we were like, okay, well, we don't want to run out of inventory. We have to figure something out. So the other guy who works with us, Jake, the guy who runs marketing on Longtail Pro, he's like, well, just raise the price. You can keep your inventory. So we did. and they just kept selling. So we think so. The early signs say that not only is this a product that will move in a pretty big market, but we were charging way less than we think people are willing to pay. So the margins are probably a lot bigger. And we've heard that with a lot of people who are doing FBA type stuff, which is that, they'll start with a low price and then they'll kind of keep increasing it to reach a optimal margin. Mm-hmm. But overall, there are a lot of good signs that make this look like a really interesting business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was selling the product at around $50 per unit, and my margins there, we'll go into this, but would be close to 50% at that price. But Perrin's exactly right. I kept raising it, by like $10 a unit to see if it would keep selling. I raised it to $90 and somebody still bought it.
Right.
So the optimal price is somewhere between $50 and $90. And so at $90, my profit margin is humongous. Right. That won't be the price I probably keep it at, but I'll find what that optimal price is there, somewhere between $50 and $90, most likely. So before we kind of get distracted into the weeds here, let's start from the very beginning, and I want to explain what I did. And hopefully that will answer some questions for people that are listening in, to demystify this business a little bit. I will just say that if people want to listen to where I started to learn about this business, I did an interview with Chris Guthrie just a couple of months ago, and that is episode number 53. That's where I learned the business, was on that podcast, to be honest. I had never heard about the Amazon FBA business until I read Chris Guthrie's blog, or I didn't really understand it. And the light bulb kind of went on like, whoa, you can really treat this like an online business. You don't physically have to handle product. You don't have to ship product. You don't have to do all these other things that I thought you did. And so I had Chris Guthrie on the podcast and asked him lots of questions. So I advise you to go listen to that if you'd like. And since that time, I have asked Chris a few private questions along the way, but I decided, you know what? I'm going to just do it. I'm going to just get a product up, and I'm going to learn the ropes. I took no official training outside of, honestly, that podcast, and I listened to a couple other podcasts and just dove in and started learning all on my own. And so I started doing some research on Amazon to find a product. Couldn't really find anything, but I did in early January have an aha moment where essentially I found a product that I liked in my own house, and I couldn't find anything quite like it on Amazon with this one particular feature, I guess. I don't want to reveal my product, and so we're going to kind of dance around what the product and feature is. But after I did some research on Amazon, I couldn't find the exact product that I was looking for. And so I decided, all right, this is the one. I'm going to have it manufactured. So step one, okay, let me back up. I didn't just decide, okay, I like this product and I'm going to sell it. I actually did research on Amazon to figure out if other people also wanted this feature. Specifically, I looked at negative reviews of competitors. And sure enough, I looked at lots of the reviews on competing products, and so many people mentioned the exact same thing that I was thinking. They said the product should be like this. It should have this feature. And after doing all my search, I couldn't find that product on Amazon. So I said, how hard can it be to manufacture this? And so after confirming that other people wanted it, I went to Alibaba.com. I did a quick search for my product. And I know this is going to sound so simple, but it honestly was this simple. I mean, it's like a 10-minute process. I went to Alibaba.com. I did a search. And maybe we should use an example product, I don't know, to make it easier. One that we talked about on Chris Guthrie's podcast was a dog carrier, a little dog carrier with a shoulder strap. So let's just say it was that. I went to Alibaba.com, I typed in dog carrier, And I found 4 manufacturers that produced that product, and I sent them an email. And I sent them all the exact same email. I typed out a very short email and I asked them, what are your minimum order quantities? What does it cost? Can you do this particular feature? And then I copied and pasted that 4 times. Honestly, 10 minutes. Okay. That was it. And then they started to respond over the next few days. A couple of them said, no, sorry, we can't do that. I think one of them didn't communicate very well, and I wasn't quite sure what they were saying, because English isn't their first language, and so communication kind of died off. And then I found one manufacturer that said, you know what, we actually can do exactly what you're looking for. We already do that. And so my particular case, the manufacturer didn't have to actually change anything. It was a product they already produced. It was just one that isn't being sold on Amazon. And so I said, all right, let's do it. Send me a sample. So that was step 2. I found my manufacturer that could do it. I said, send me a sample in the mail. It took 2 weeks to get it. The product was exactly like I wanted it. I took pictures of that sample product. I then hired somebody on Elance to create a logo and product packaging. Just graphic design work. Very simple. And that's all I asked for in my job. I said, hey, I need to hire somebody that can create a logo and a product package. Again, it's just graphic design work. Cost me $150 or something like that. Once I got that, and then I told the manufacturer, all right, let's do it. Manufacture my product. And I don't know if the time frame will be interesting, but so I got my sample product on February 3rd. I hired somebody on Elance on February 5th. I then told my manufacturer on February 12th to start manufacturing the product. They allowed me, and this is something that's interesting, is that manufacturers will tell you what their minimum order quantity is. In my case, I think it was 500 units, but they usually say, but we will allow you to do a test order of 105 units to make sure the product sells. And
cool.
So even though they'd say the minimum order quantity is 500 or 1,000, say, hey, I'd like to do a smaller test order. And in my case, they let me do 105 units. So my risk was very low. It didn't cost me very much, to get this product manufactured, and I was, good to go. So they started manufacturing the product. In my case, they had Spring Festival holiday, Chinese New Year, which they shut down their manufacturing plant for like 3 weeks. So it was kind of depressing. I had to sit there and wait for 3 weeks while they celebrated their Spring Festival. By March 12th, the manufacturer had completed the 105 units. And I should say, in that meantime, I had contacted a logistics company to basically do my freight forwarding for me, so that as soon as the product was manufactured in China, my logistics company would pick up that product in Shanghai. They would ship it to the U.S. They would clear it through customs for me, and do all of that legwork, and they would land it in their warehouse. And then at that point, I asked them to forward it on to the Amazon warehouses where that needed to be forwarded. So maybe at this point along the journey, do you have any questions or interjections, Perrin?
No, I think that covers the basic process. And, I'm as new to this as anybody else, so I'm kind of soaking it in right now. I guess maybe the only question I have is a small tactical thing. So the logo, who puts your logo on the package?
Yeah, so the manufacturer did that. So I just had a graphic design completed on Elance, and then I just emailed that logo / graphic design to my manufacturer, and then they just print it out and slap it on the product.
Cool. And maybe you're going to cover this too, but what was your total cost for everything for this first one, for this first batch, to get it from idea to Amazon's warehouse?
Yeah, so I do have the cost broken down here. Manufacturing costs about $1,000. Logo, branding, photo editing, $150. shipping and freight costs. Now, this is the big expense, and it was $2,500. And that's because I went by air, and way more expensive. If I had gone by boat, it would have been about $350. So I will just say up front that all the revenue I stated of $4,400, that basically allows me to break even on this first 105 units. I would have had about a $2,000 profit if I would have done ocean freight. But I chose consciously to do air freight, A, because of this 3-week break for Spring Festival, and B, because I just wanted to get the product up as quickly as possible and determine if there was a business here or not. So this was just an investment for me to break even. So anyways, it was $2,500 for shipping costs. Amazon fees is about $15 per unit. That includes a commission fee. That includes a labeling fee. Amazon slaps your barcode on each of the boxes as they go out, and then just a pick and pack, for them to pick it and ship it. About $15 per unit. And then I also want to mention soft costs. I gave away basically about 20 units to both friends and family and other people to review my product. So that's about, $1,000 worth of product that I didn't actually get revenue for, but because I gave away that product for free.
That's basically just to get reviews and the increase in the rankings on Amazon, right?
Correct. Yep, exactly right. Gave away some product, essentially in exchange for some reviews. And I will mention, because people are probably wondering, is that allowed? Is that against Amazon's terms of service? That is definitely allowed. You are allowed to give away product and ask for people to review your product, as long as when people do that review, they mention in that review that they received the product for free or for a discount in exchange for a review. And if people want to research that on their own, they can. Or they can look at the blog post where I talk about this, because I actually, in the comments, link to the specific page on Amazon that mentions just that. So it's totally within Amazon's terms of service to ask for a review if you give away your product. And I do want to dig in a little bit to the logistics, because that seems to be the big hang up for people of how do you actually get the product from China to Amazon. And it seems so complicated. I remember it seemed so complicated when I was getting started.
Yeah, it still does to me.
And I will just say that when I started this process, I didn't take any training. I didn't have a course or a blueprint that I was following. I just made the decision of, you know what? I'm going to just do the one step that I know, and then think about step 2 after that. And maybe that's not the best way to do it, but I said, okay, first I need to find the product. I found the product. Next, I need to manufacture the product. So I just did each step, and logistics was just one of those things. I had no clue how to get, even after I started manufacturing, I'm like, okay, once they're done, I'm going to have to kind of figure out how to get this to the US. And so you do some quick research. So basically, a logistics company so you contact them, and this is all via email, very simple. For people, I don't want to give away my logistics company just because I don't want them overrun with people. But if you do some Google searching for logistics company, or freight forwarding, or shipping agent, how to import product to the U.S., some similar Google searches, you'll find these companies. There's lots of companies out there.
And is that what you did? You just went and did some Google foo?
I actually got a recommendation from Chris Guthrie.
Right.
So I had that where I could ask somebody, and he shared with me who I could use. You basically contact them by email, and they'll say, great. Here's some information we need. We need the dimensions of your product. We need the weight of your product, yada, yada, yada. You then go, okay, I don't know that information. And so you send an email to your manufacturer and say, what's the weight of the product? What is the dimensions? And they send you an email with all that information. You say, okay, cool. And then you email back your logistics company, copy paste from your manufacturer. Here's all the information you need. And then the logistics company says, great. When will your product be done? And you say, I don't know. Let me contact my manufacturer, and they say, your product will be done on March 5th. And then, anyways, so you just go, if you don't know things, just ask your manufacturer, ask your logistics company. Then your logistics company will go, here's some paperwork that's needed in order to get your product moved through customs. And you say, great, I didn't know I needed that. So you fill out some simple paperwork, and it's honestly as simple as that. Your logistics company will then make contact with your manufacturer to set up everything else. As far as, where in Shanghai, what port, I wasn't even involved. I don't even know.
Right.
I just know they picked up the product. They had all the paperwork they needed. They flew it to the U.S. And again, my logistics company had all the paperwork, had my signature to process everything. They went through customs. They did everything. I was probably taking a nap at the time when all this happened. It's not a big deal. Like, I know it sounds like it probably is for people listening, but that's why you hire a shipping agent. They do all of this for you.
Right.
So they then land the product in their warehouse, and then they say, Spencer, great news. Your product is now safely in our warehouse. Where do you want us to send this? And basically you just go into your Amazon seller account, and there's a process in Amazon where you basically click a button that says, I want to send product to Amazon. And it walks you through exactly what to do. Very, very simple. And basically Amazon has you print out UPS packing slips, from Amazon Seller Central. Mm-hmm. You then attach those to an email and send them to your logistics company and say, here's where to send my product. And they say, great. They print out the packing slips and they ship it to the Amazon warehouse. Amazon sends you an email that says, hey, we just received your product. You're ready to go. And at that point, you make sure your Amazon listing is live, write out a product description. I had done all of this beforehand. It was ready to go. So as soon as I received the product, I clicked, make it live. And there you go. You got your product up and ready to sell on Amazon.
Awesome. So at this point, I think I want to ask a question that our good friend Alex Park asked. And this was right before we started the podcast, but he had just read the blog post. And I won't go through the whole question, but his basic question is like, is this even real? Like, is it a real business? Can people really do this? So what's your take on it? I mean, how easy is it? Do you just send a couple emails, take a nap, and then you wake up a millionaire the next day?
Oh, man. No. That is definitely not the case, but I do recommend napping every now and again.
It's good for you.
But it's not that simple. Yes, this is a very, very real business. I am seeing the product being sold. Perrin, you log into my account. You have full access. You see the sales coming in. People really are buying this product on Amazon, getting it shipped, and it's hands off as far as that's concerned. So yes, I mean, you have to think about it, right, Perrin? I mean,
yeah, people
are selling, I mean, you name it. I mean, selling dog carriers. They're selling, wallets. They're selling microphones. I'm just looking at, product, and they're doing millions and millions of dollars worth on Amazon.com. Sure. In fact, as an example that just popped into my mind, people that watch Shark Tank, I love Shark Tank. One of the unique products there was the Squatty Potty.
Oh yeah,
that was sold, and I believe they were doing they had done $4 million in revenue the previous year, or they were about to do that, and 100% of their sales had come on Amazon. So can you create a product, put it on Amazon, and make millions of dollars a year? Yes. Is it easy to do? No. It's a real business. Right. You have to go out there and you have to do the legwork. And yeah, I make this sound simple that, hey, I just found a product and I listed it up on Amazon. So yes, it's very real. You can do very, very well. Can you take lots of naps and wake up the next morning and make tons of money? No. Yeah. But on a scale of how hard is this, I honestly think this is easier than building niche websites.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like very basic principles. You're buying something at cost, and then you are selling it for a profit, and there are just a couple things to figure out along the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably as many moving parts to niche websites as there are to this business, because there's link building, there's SEO, there's writing content, there's, dealing with hosting and buying domain names, and all of that seems complicated when you get started. But for people that have built lots of websites, that's second nature now. I think it's very similar with this Amazon FBA business. I had no clue 3 months ago how to do any of this, but now it seems very sort of simple. Like, yeah, you just go to Alibaba and email somebody.
Yeah.
And so in comparing, niche websites to Amazon FBA, I think Amazon FBA maybe I shouldn't say is easier, but it's on the same level as far as complexity is concerned. But the potential rewards are magnitudes greater.
Right.
You just probably are not going to build a niche website that makes $1 million a year.
Totally.
But can you have an Amazon FBA business that does $1 million a year? Absolutely. I mean, I mentioned, look at the top, 50 selling products in almost any category, and they're doing $1 million a year.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Absolutely. This is a real business, Alex, and other people listening in. I don't want to say it's easy. As far as going through all the steps, it's not super complicated. But the difficult thing is that not every product is going to sell well. Not everybody's going to do well. They're going to go through all these steps of finding a product, going to Alibaba and listing it, and it's not going to sell. Okay, that could very much happen. So the nuances is finding that product that will sell, finding a way that you can actually improve and have a unique feature that people are searching for. And then, of course, there's a whole marketing side that we can dive into as well. Yeah, so that's my response.
For sure. And maybe I can add some thoughts to that. There's, I think there are pros and cons to this type of business. I think the obvious con for someone like me is the financial barrier to entry. If you don't have $2,000 or $3,000 to invest in a batch of products and get it imported, then it might be more difficult for you. That said, I think it's also fairly low risk if you can let go of that money for a while, because we know people who don't have products who are, just flying off the shelves. Or I know a couple people that I met at a conference who ordered products and they got some negative reviews. And usually what those people do in those circumstances is they just sell their product at cost, which makes it really, really cheap. And eventually you make your money back, or you make that investment back. I think it's pretty rare that a product is so bad that you lose all of your money. The exception, of course, is our friend who accidentally made his coupon code public. And
we won't go into that, right?
He'll be chuckling a bit. And I think the other really obvious benefit to this business model is that whether it's going to work much, much faster than you do a niche site. With a niche site, especially if you're focusing on SEO only, you're going to be waiting 6, 8, 12 months to see if that site's really going to work. With the FBA program, if you can let go of a couple $1,000s for a while, basically right off the bat if that particular product's going to work. If it's not, maybe you make your money back, maybe you lose just a little bit of money, and then you can try again.
No, I think that's a great point about the amount of risk. Up front, you're right. There are, you're going to have to invest a few $1,000s, but it's very different from other investments that you could make. If you invest a few $1,000s hiring a writer and producing a Kindle book, and that Kindle book doesn't sell, you don't have any physical inventory to make your money back. You're kind of stuck. With the Amazon business, you always have that physical inventory. So even if it doesn't sell at the price you want to make a great profit, you can reduce that and usually, come very close to breaking even. So you invested $3,000. Maybe you have to reduce your price and you only make $2,500 back. Yeah, you're out $500, but you learned that, hey, this didn't work. So $500 is really your risk in that particular case. So there's always risks with businesses. There's a lot of different angles that people need to look at this, and I'm not trying to endorse this and say that everybody should be doing this. This is just something that I've tried, and it's working for me, and I'm excited enough about it that I am going to be ordering samples of 3 or 4 additional products that are related to my first product, and I'm going to start selling them. We're going to scale this business. and do a lot of things because I think there's a lot of potential here. So in my particular case, I'm jumping in with both feet and going to go for it.
Totally. And I think that brings us to another question. We mentioned this on the blog post, but we are going to be creating a niche site, or what's going to start out as a niche site around this product. So we are going to install a theme. We're going to use WooCommerce because they have an option to embed Amazon payments inside your site. And we're going to write some content for these products and see if we can drive a little bit more traffic to them. I was talking to Gail Breton from Authority Hacker about that, and his question, and I have an answer, but I want to hear your answer too, Spencer. His question is, why even build a niche site? I mean, Amazon's going to get you sales, so why even spend the time and energy and a little bit of money to build a niche site around your Amazon product?
The answer is because I want to scale this business as much as possible, and I believe that having an e-commerce site outside of Amazon will help me to scale the business. So let me explain that a little bit. So Gail is correct that I want to do everything I can on Amazon to get more revenue and to grow sales, and we're going to absolutely do that. But I believe that there's an entire market missed of people doing Google searches and related long tail keywords where, on Google where, my niche website could show up and I could be making sales to those people. I just see a lot of potential with content marketing and growing out a full e-commerce site in conjunction with Amazon. So that's why we're doing it. And another reason is because of my background of I know what happens when you're 100% reliant on one platform.
Right.
And like I mentioned in the intro of this podcast, I have tried to go into other businesses outside of niche websites because I don't want to be 100% reliant on Google. I can see, Amazon is working great right now, but I can see in 2 or 3 years, I don't know what's going to happen. Amazon could change drastically and the business could be gone. I don't think that that's going to be the case, but I think it's smart to have your own platform outside of Amazon to diversify just in case something does happen. So that's my answer.
For sure, and I have a couple things to add to that. So the first is that we are seeing already that our price was a little bit low and that by increasing our price, our margin is going to go up significantly. So we think we can make 40 or 50 bucks a sale. So if you're making in profit 40 or 50 bucks a sale, like very small amounts of long tail traffic can be immensely profitable to you. So creating a niche site and writing really great content about your product, targeting some long tail keywords, and maybe bringing in a couple hundred visits a day, that can equal a lot of money. The second thing is that if you are optimizing both an e-commerce site and your Amazon page for long tail keywords, you can take up quite a bit of real estate in the SERPs. So it seems like a really good play for like organic traffic and to just cover your bases. And then lastly, just to echo what you said, Spencer, say Amazon goes away or the FBA space becomes really crowded and, all signs point to that happening sooner rather than later because so many people are trying to get into this business. It would be really great and a nice safety net to have your own site driving your own traffic to your Amazon sales pages instead of, just getting knocked out of the rankings and never seeing your product again.
Right. Absolutely. Good points. And I also want to dive into why is my product selling so well? I think that is such a critical question that people should be thinking about, whether they're already in this business or thinking about going into this business. What are the particular reasons that are going to make a product sell well? Again, I don't have all the answers. I just started 30 days ago with my Amazon product, but it's doing very well. I'm very excited about it. And I can look back and I believe there's 3 primary reasons why my product has sold so well. The first one is one that I already mentioned. I do believe that a big part of the reason is because my product is slightly different. It's slightly unique. I can't find my exact product anywhere else on Amazon. Now, I do want to be clear that I didn't have to go to my manufacturer and have them change their molds and send over new designs, they actually, deep in their catalog that I guess nobody else found, they were producing this particular product that I was looking for. Maybe it's sold in China somewhere or other places, but it's clearly not on Amazon.com.
Right.
And so I'm a unique product on Amazon. I have that slightly different feature. I don't want to understate the importance of that because there are people searching for that particular feature, if you will, and they're finding my product. That actually brings me to my second point, that it's selling well, and that's because my product is ranking well for several long tail keyword phrases.
On Amazon.
On Amazon, that's correct, on Amazon.com. And so that very much was intentional. I mentioned these long tail phrases in my product title, in my product description. I knew what people should be searching, searching for to find my product. And so I use those phrases to make sure that I showed up. And so I definitely am showing up on Amazon. I know that these, I'm tracking where I rank for these particular keywords, so I know I'm showing up, and I believe that's bringing in some of those initial sales. Yeah, I definitely want to point out, I was making 1 to 2 sales per day purely based on these long tail keyword searches and showing up in other places, because I did not have a single Amazon review for the first at least couple of weeks. And so, yeah, no marketing done whatsoever. And I will just mention here on the podcast, I didn't do any marketing just because of the timing. I listed the product on, I think, Saturday or something, and then I went out of town on Monday for a week with my family, and I did no work whatsoever on this business. So for a full week, I was on vacation. I didn't make a lot of sales, but I made a couple. The next week, didn't really do anything on the business. Maybe I changed up my product description slightly. I think that I did. Yeah. And sales started to pick up. I don't think because I changed anything, but maybe just because it aged and I finally started showing up in some long tail keyword searches. And then, So I was making 1 to 2 sales a day without having a single review. And now that brings me to my third reason that I think the product is selling well, and that's because of some basic promotion that I've done. After the first couple of weeks, I decided it was time to try and up the ante a little bit. Let's see what we can do. So we created a $1 coupon code. We've given out a total of 12 of those have at least been redeemed.
Right.
12 people redeemed that $1 coupon basically in one day. So I had this huge spike in sales going from, 1 to 2 sales a day, maybe 3, to all of a sudden I had 14 sales. I made a few natural sales as well that day. And so this huge spike, and 2 things happened. Over the next week, I started to get some of those Amazon reviews to trickle in. Mm-hmm. And I will just say, as of recording this podcast, I only have 6 total reviews. So it's not like anything crazy. And those reviews, I do believe, help just a little bit to improve where I'm ranking naturally in Amazon. So sales picked up a little bit based on reviews. And then B, that promotion, that huge spike in sales improved my Amazon bestseller rank.
Right.
And so I started showing up higher in my niche categories. So when people were just doing general searches in categories, suddenly I was showing up on, instead of the 10th page, maybe the 2nd or 3rd page. And so some more natural review or sales started to come in from there.
Let me jump in real quick here. Because I just saw something that relates directly to that. If you type in, and this is kind of an ancillary benefit of all these things adding up. If you type in our keyword, our main keyword to Google, and I don't know if you've seen this, Benjamin. Maybe I'm going to just send this to you on Skype real quick. But if you type in the main keyword to Google, and if you have your ad block turned off, the first thing you see is an ad paid for by Amazon to that category page. And if you click on the category page, your product is, I think, number 4. So
nice.
All of these things add up, and you are getting not only benefits from natural Amazon rankings, but you're also getting benefits for like the paid advertising that Amazon is doing for all of its category pages.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's very cool. And so that's a great point about the advertising that I should mention. That is one of the benefits of the Amazon FBA program is they do aggressively advertise.
Right.
They do a lot of remarketing. So if anybody visits your product page, an ad will follow them over to Facebook. I've seen tons of ads for my own product and other people's products on Facebook. When I log into my email, there's image ads from Amazon with my product. Amazon will advertise for you as soon as somebody's visited your product page. They'll do ad remarketing.
Yep.
So that's a huge plus for Amazon FBA. Now, what you're seeing, Perrin, I had not seen that they're advertising to these product pages based on keyword searches in Google.
Yeah.
So that is totally awesome.
Yeah.
So there's another huge benefit is that, these are probably people that have never visited your category page or your product page. Now doing a Google search, Amazon's advertising for you. So there you go.
Yep.
So all of these things, have added up to increase sales. So as soon as we did the $1 coupon and my product sales rank shot up, I started showing up better. Instead of going from an average of 2 sales a day before that coupon, after that coupon, I've been making 6.8 sales per day on average. So a huge spike. Yeah. And so it's been awesome. That's the 3 reasons that I think my product has been selling well. But what that has done is I only had 105 units of this product, right?
Yeah.
And so I went from, okay, I'm making 2 sales a day. I sort of lazily contacted my manufacturer and said, hey, I think it's about time to, we need to think about doing the next order. I'm going to run out of inventory. I'd sold, maybe 50 units, not even that much, actually, to be honest. I've sold maybe 35 to 40 units. I can see that it's selling. And I figured I've got at least 2 months before I'm going to run out of inventory. And then all of a sudden we did this promotion and I'm selling, 7 units a day. I'm looking at running out of product in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Or less. And in fact, I only have, as of recording, I think I have like 22 units left in inventory.
Yeah.
If I sold, 7 units a day, I'd be done in 3 days. So all of a sudden I have this inventory problem. I frantically said, manufacturer people, you better produce some product as quickly as possible. So they are working on that, but it's going to be a month before it's done and it's shipped to the US. It is. And so rather than me running out of units inventory in 3 days, I've raised the price of my product to try and reduce how many units are sold each day. It's a good problem to have. I'm trying to make it so I only sell about 1 to 2 units a day at just a much higher price, so I can stretch out that inventory and hopefully not be out of stock for very long. I know it's going to happen. I'm going to be out of stock, and that's not good, but this was just a test order of 105 units, so I have to look at that on the bright side. I'm going to get another much larger batch coming in, and once I get that, I'm going to be aggressively able to do things. I'm going to have lots of orders, and hopefully get this back up to 6-7 sales a day right away.
Yeah. Do you know the consequences for going out of stock?
I don't know the consequences directly, other than I do know that obviously that's going to reduce your Amazon bestseller rank because you're not going to be making sales, and that's your bestseller rank is purely based on how many sales a day you're making. So that's going to reduce. I'm probably going to start losing my rankings for all these long tail keyword phrases. That's just the way that it's going to be. But I'm very confident that I can get those back after just doing some basic promotion. Maybe I'll give out another 15, 20 coupons. That should hopefully jump my bestseller rank back up within a day or two. And hopefully I'll start showing up for all these long tail phrases and doing better. So those are the consequences. I don't know if there's anything beyond that.
It doesn't help that Amazon puts a big red thing on your listing that says, order soon, these are going out of stock.
Right, exactly. Yep. So those are some of the issues that I have come across. I'm going to run out of inventory, lesson learned there, but we'll get that restocked as quickly as possible. But overall, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I've done. Hopefully that gives people some food for thought, some insight into my own business. What do you think? Are there some other finer points or questions that you think that we should cover, Perrin?
No, I think it's great. I think we're going to probably hear some stuff in the comments, and we already had some good comments about some of the tactical stuff. So maybe in some other podcasts we can think about what to cover in more detail, especially as we start doing some more stuff like looking into other ways to get reviews, or using bloggers to build the links to the Amazon pages, or building our own e-commerce store. I'm sure we will have a lot to talk about. But as for a good, solid overview, I think it's awesome. I think you learned us good.
Awesome. So there you have it. After 30 days, I've done about $4,400 in sales. Again, that's just broken even for me. I'm not making any profit on that. I fully expect to make at least 50% profit margin on each unit that I sell in the future. So a great profit margin. It's in a market that I know product can sell very well now, and I can very easily see my ability to scale not just this product. And maybe this is wishful thinking, but I'm very optimistic that I can get this one product at least up to $20,000 a month. I see no reason why I can't do that, based on the sales that I'm seeing. I'm almost there with some of the days that I've had. But I also see what's exciting is that very similar products related, all in my same niche, I can get 4 or 5 of those up within the next 2 to 3 months probably, and I plan on doing that. And so I can scale those individual products outside of that. So again, it's early on. I've made some sales. The signs are great. I'm going to put a lot of effort into this business now. And when I say a lot of effort, I mean, I'm going to spend a few hours a week, I guess.
And a couple of naps.
And a couple of naps in between. I mean, I do have a full-time business running. We've got our Authority project, our Kindle books. I've got Longtail Pro, I've got Niche Pursuits, I've got other things.
Yeah.
But I am going to spend some more time on this, and I see a lot of opportunity here. So this is a real business. People can do well. There's a lot of pros and cons. There's some pitfalls that people are going to fall victim to. Unfortunately, they're going to go out there and they're going to try and sell a product that people just don't want to buy, or they're just not able to move that product. That definitely can happen and does happen to lots of people. So I hope that people have enjoyed at least what we've explained, our experience for scaling up and starting this Amazon FBA business. Any parting words of wisdom from you, Perrin?
No, I just want to mention one comment that I think kind of sums up our attitude, and a good attitude to have. Just mind your risk, but I think this is a good attitude. This is from Yarrow. He just said, "Oh, screw it, let's do it." Research phase started, and then his whole comment was just about him jumping in with both feet. So if you're not mortgaging your house to do it or something, then give it a whirl.
That's right. That's awesome, Yarrow. Good luck with that. I think that's a great idea. I mean, that's how business works. You really just need to jump in and do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to do this business idea, but whatever business idea that you have, maybe it's time to stop researching it and actually start, jumping in and doing it. It's great to do research, but it's even better to actually go out there and do it and start bringing in some sales. So for everybody listening in, good luck in your business. Hopefully you've enjoyed the podcast. Always feel free to stop by over at nichepursuits.com. Leave a comment or two. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks a lot, guys.